A real retirement success story. All right, today we're jumping into a really fascinating real life retirement story. It's all about how one retiree took a classic and frankly flawed investment plan and turned it into a strategy that completely transformed their entire financial future. So let's get right into it. $12,000. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's the amount of income at the very heart of the story. It's what a retiree started bringing in like clockwork every single month. So the big question is, how on earth is that even possible? I mean, what kind of retirement plan can produce that much cash flow month after month without you having to sell off your precious savings? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack here. To really get how they landed on that $12,000 figure, you have to see where they started. And honestly, on the surface, their original plan looked about as perfect as you could get. They kicked things off with a very, very healthy nest egg, $1.5 million. I mean, that is a fantastic place to start. Your retirement, so what could possibly go wrong? While the strategy itself was pretty much out of a textbook, 100% of their money was in stocks and mutual funds. The expectation, a nice steady 8 to 10% growth every year. The game plan was simple. Pull out a safe 5% to live on and just let the rest of that money compound and grow. Sounds good, right? But you know what works in theory doesn't always hold up in the real world. A huge problem was lurking just around the corner, one that was about to shake the very foundation of this entire plan. And there it is. The market just stopped. It went flat. The engine that was supposed to power their whole retirement, that consistent growth, it just sputtered out and died. This slide right here shows you the danger perfectly. The original plan was to live off the fruit of a growing tree, right? But when the market went flat, they weren't just picking fruit anymore, they were basically sawing off the branches. They were forced to start eating away at their core savings just to pay the bills. You can just feel the panic in this quote. I mean, can you imagine the stress watching your life savings, that nest egg you spent decades building, just shrink a little bit more every single month? It's terrifying. Okay, so this is where the story takes a turn. The old plan was clearly failing. It was time for a completely new approach. It was time to pivot, to stop hoping for growth and start engineering cash flow. Wow! Just look at this change. It's dramatic. A huge chunk, about 73% of their portfolio, that's $1.1 million, was moved into what the source calls passive income baskets. Now, the source doesn't get into the nitty-gritty of what was in them, but you can think of things designed to produce a paycheck, dividend stocks, maybe some real estate private credit. The goal wasn't to hit a home run on price, it was to get a predictable check in the mail. The other 400 grand that stayed in stocks for some growth and flexibility, this was a total 180 on their financial philosophy. So what's the big idea here? It's really about a shift in your mindset. Instead of being a speculator who's just hoping prices go up, you become an owner. You're building a financial machine, and your assets are the employees whose only job is to send you a paycheck. So did this massive change actually work? Well, let's get to the good part, the results, and see how this new strategy completely changed this retiree's life. And we are back to our magic number, the immediate result of this big pivot, a predictable, consistent, reliable income of $12,000 every single month. And if you zoom out for the year, that comes out to $144,000 in income. The best part, it was all generated by the portfolio without having to sell off the core assets. And let's not forget this crucial piece of the puzzle. They still had $400,000 in the stock market. That wasn't just a safety net, it was still a growth engine ready to capture any future upside in the market. The real impact. I mean, it goes way beyond the numbers on a spreadsheet. That 12 grand a month translated into actual freedom. We're talking about flying business class, taking the grandkids on amazing vacations, and just not having to stress about the mortgage anymore. The source even says that everyday bills started to feel like pocket change. And this quote right here, it says it all. More than the fancy trips, more than anything. The single most important result was peace of mind. That feeling of knowing your income is secure, you just can't put a price on that. So let's break this down. What were the core principles that made this shift from a growth strategy to an income strategy so successful? Why did this work so well? Well, according to our source, it all comes down to these three pillars. First, their capital was secure. They weren't draining their principal anymore. Second, their income became predictable. You know exactly what's coming in, so you can plan your life with confidence. And finally, those two things combine to create the ultimate goal, true lifestyle freedom. So if you take one thing away from this whole story, let it be this. The crucial difference was moving from passively hoping for the market to go up to actively engineering a predictable income stream. That shift in mindset made all the difference in the world. Of course, this strategy worked wonders when the market was just kind of flat. But that leaves us with one final and really critical question. How does a plan like this hold up in a real crisis? What happens when you're faced with another 2008 or a global pandemic? That right there, that's the ultimate stress test.